Creations here. Today I have for you a special holiday recipe. We're going to be making a dark chocolate peppermint cake. So this is my deep dark chocolate cake recipe, and we are going to be topping it with my peppermint Swiss buttercream. This recipe will be up on my blog, and I will eventually be doing a recipe for the peppermint cream puffs that are on top. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to my blog so you can get notifications when I have new delicious recipes out. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so first we are going to prep our pans. This recipe will bake 2 8-inch cakes that we are going to tort into 4 layers. So to start, I actually like to use a pan goop. We call it in baking. It's equal parts vegetable shortening, vegetable oil, and flour, and mix it up really well. So you're going to coat the whole inside of your pan, sides and bottom. And then do a parchment circle in the bottom. And I have a quick, easy way to cut a whole bunch of parchment circles all at once. I have a little tutorial on my blog, and it's super helpful. You can just cut out a whole bunch at once and have them cut up ahead of time. Nice generous coating of your goop. You can use straight vegetable shortening or butter for this as well, but I like the goop. It just seems to release a little bit nicer. Okay, so I'm going to set our pans aside. Now I like to weigh my ingredients, but you are welcome to use cups of measurement if you don't have a scale. But a scale is really awesome. If you guys don't have a scale for baking, you should get one. So we're going to start with our mixing bowl, and we need 250 grams of flour. I pre-weighed my ingredients, but I want to show you guys how easy it is to weigh your ingredients. So your bowl is on your scale, and you zero it, and then you add 250 grams of flour, and you tare it. Make sure you're on grams. Okay, so it tears. So now I'm zeroed out again, and I'm adding 395 grams of sugar. And I zero it again, and I'm adding 90 grams of cocoa powder. Now, not all cocoa powder is created equal. I used to think I made a good chocolate cake when I was using the store-bought cocoa powders, and then I tried some really good premium cocoa powders, and it made all the difference in the world. My favorite is Valrhona. Okay, so go ahead and put this on the KitchenAid, and I love to use my scraper paddle for this. This works really great, so you don't have to keep stopping and scraping the bowl. Go ahead and give it a start, and we're going to add in our baking powder, baking soda, and salt. So you're going to do 2 teaspoons baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and half a teaspoon of salt. Okay, well that's mixing. Let it mix really well. We're going to combine our wet ingredients. So you need 1 cup of whole milk at room temperature. You need a cup of water. Half a cup of vegetable oil. I like to use canola oil. 2 eggs at room temperature. This is my chocolate cake secret ingredient, a little bit of espresso powder. And I do 2 tablespoons. I also love to use the vanilla bean paste instead of vanilla bean extract. A little more rich, so a teaspoon of that. Two teaspoons of vinegar. Mix that well. Now you're going to pour that into your dry ingredients. And let it mix pretty well. The paddle attachment with the scraper blade on it. We don't have to stop and scrape our bowl several times. We can just let it do its thing. Now we're going to evenly divide our batter into our cake pans, and I'm going to show you how I get an even amount in each pan. So first, before you start, you always weigh your KitchenAid bowl so you know how much that weighs. Once you have your batter made, you can make sure your scale is at 0. And then you weigh your batter. And then with a calculator, you take the weight of that you get right now, and you subtract the weight of your bowl, and then you divide it by how many cake pans you have. I have 2 this time. So that tells me how much batter I need in each pan. Okay, so now put your pan on the scale and 0, and add the weight of batter that you need. And that will get you the exact same amount of batter in both pans. Now you're going to bake these at 350 for about half an hour. Test with a toothpick and make sure it comes out clean before you take your cake pans out. Once your cakes are out of the oven, let them cool in the pan for 10 minutes and then turn them out onto a wire rack and cool them completely before you torte them. Once your cakes have cooled in the pan for 10 minutes, you're going to turn them out onto a wire rack to cool completely. So just run a knife around the side of the pan to loosen the cake from the sides. And now let them cool completely. Okay, so let's get our buttercream flavored. Here's what I use. I love this Simply Organic peppermint extract. That's really a strong peppermint flavor. so you don't need a whole lot. So we're going to put about a tablespoon of this in our buttercream. Mix it really well. Smells like Christmas in here. So just get that mixed in really well. We're going to put this in a large piping bag, and I like this type of tip. This is a Wilton, let's see, 8B, so something along these lines. I'm going to show you how to get some peppermint striping in your bag. Okay. I like to use a vase to put my bag in to hold it. It makes it easier to do this job. So fill your bag up with your peppermint buttercream. So we're going to put some red striping in this to make it look like a candy cane or a peppermint candy. So what I've done is I have taken a small amount, about probably 3 or 4 tablespoons of my buttercream, and I melted it in the microwave. And I mixed in some red food gel, some super red food gel, and put it in a piping bag. So it's very liquid. And the reason why you do this is that the Swiss meringue buttercream by itself, when it's coolish, when it's this consistency, it doesn't take the color so well. It doesn't absorb the color. The color doesn't mix into it and become very saturated in the buttercream. So when you melt it, that changes, and you can really mix in some dark colors into your buttercream. So we've also made it liquid so that we can drip it down the sides of the inside of the piping bag and get some nice red stripes. So the way we're going to do that is take a straw, and you're going to make a hole down your piping bag. Pull your straw back out. And then you're going to drip some of your liquid buttercream down into that stripe. Not too much, you just want a few drips. And then with a skewer you can kind of poke it down there and make it go all the way down. Be gentle with this, you don't want to poke through your piping bag. So go ahead and do that on 4 or 5 spots around the perimeter of your piping bag. So you can let the excess drip out, because you just want stripes at this point. So now you'll have some very pretty stripes. And it looks like a peppermint candy. Okay, so we're going to torte our cake next. I like to use the Wilton cake leveler. It just makes life a little easier for torting cakes. So what you're going to do is torte these exactly in half, because we want 4 layers, and this chocolate cake recipe bakes up nice and flat, so you don't have any waste. Okay, you're going to start with your bottom layer. And you're going to pipe dots around the outside here. And then you're going to fill in the center with a layer of your peppermint buttercream. This way we're getting lots of that yummy peppermint buttercream. On your next layer, gently. And repeat. Okay, when you get to the top layer, we're just going to put a nice layer of buttercream and smooth that out. Push it all the way out to the edge and get it nice and smooth and level on top. I'll just smooth out your top edge here. You want that to look nice and clean. Okay, now you're going to put this in the fridge to chill so it hardens the buttercream on top, maybe 15 or 20 minutes. Okay, now that your cake has been in the fridge for about 15 minutes, it has firmed up the buttercream on the outside, so now we can pour our warm ganache on without melting our buttercream. So I've made a batch of ganache and I flavored it with the peppermint extract. I usually use about a teaspoon of that in my single batch of ganache. I've put my ganache in a squeeze bottle. I like to do that because I have a little bit more control of where my drips go, but of course you can just pour it straight on your cake from your bowl if you want. I'm just going to go around the outside first and make my drips. You want to do this pretty quickly because it's going to firm up. As soon as it hits the buttercream, it's going to start cooling off and firming up, and it'll be harder to spread. Okay, so now we're going to go back with our piping bag and do a border of our pretty peppermint puffs. I've crushed some candy canes fairly roughly. I don't put them in the food processor because I want them to be pretty chunky. And I'm going to fill in the top with those. And to finish off, I'm going to add my peppermint cream puffs, and I will have these as a recipe on my blog fairly soon. I'm going to do a whole series on flavored cream puffs. So these actually have a peppermint whipped cream center and the peppermint ganache dip with candy cane. We're going to add those on top. And then I actually am going to finish these off with some Ghirardelli peppermint bark. You could make this yourself if you want, but I particularly like these. There we go. Okay. The last thing I'm going to do is pipe a little shell border around the base of it with the same technique that I did the large piping bag. I striped it and I'm going to do a nice little shell border. Okay, all done. Made beautiful, delicious chocolate peppermint cake, my favorite flavor combination for the holidays, and it's pretty delicious looking. So I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial and go out and make some beautiful peppermint chocolate holiday cakes. Thanks for joining me, you guys. Have a sweet day.